Evening, my beautiful classmates. In case you haven't met me, my name is Jack, and for the next 8 to 10 minutes, we are going to be talking about the Hyperloop. So if you haven't heard about the Hyperloop before, basically what it is it's a new proposed futuristic form of transportation that Elon Musk calls the fifth mode of transportation. He says we're going to revolutionize the world of transportation with this. And initial tests have already proven it to be extremely energy efficient. It consumes about 90 to 95% less energy than any of the forms of transportation that we have right now, such as cars or trains or planes. It's extremely economically efficient. Tickets for the Hyperloop are proposed to just cost $20, pretty much the same price as a bus ticket in many cases. And that feeds into my third point here. It is perfect for you no matter who you are, whether you're a commuter to work, whether you just want to go for a day trip somewhere else. It is supposed to go 760 miles per hour. So theoretically, you could live in San Francisco, leave your house at 8 a.m., grab a cup of coffee on your way to the Hyperloop station, be at work in Los Angeles, California by 9 a.m. on the dot. So let me give you a little brief background history here. I'm not going to say everything that's on there in an effort to save time, but Elon Musk brought this idea to the table in about 2012, 2013. He basically said to the world, I stumbled across a great idea here. I think we're all smart people. We can make something happen here. For $6 billion, someone come up with a good idea for the Hyperloop. Tesla and SpaceX will back you. We will build you a test facility to run it on. Go. And they went for it. Companies all around the world started making ideas for it. There were even many startups who were not paying their scientists. And their scientists were literally just working for a share in stock because they knew if they created the first Hyperloop, money, instantly rich. So the first winners of round one of Elon Musk's competition was MIT's Hyperloop team. But interestingly enough, they're actually not even the team that is doing the best with it right now. There's one company called Hyperloop One that is absolutely crushing it right now. They just ran an initial test, 350 miles per hour, I think, and it went all good. It's really impressive. Let's talk a little bit about how it works. This is the most important part of it. So basically, as you can see, it kind of looks like a train, right? And it's going to have around it, you can't see in this picture, but theoretically a big tube around it to protect it. This tube will essentially be weather resistant. Earthquakes, no problem. Thunderstorm, all good. Extremely safe. The pod, as they call it, the train part of it, it's going to be extremely safe too. It's pressurized. You sit down in it, it's nice and comfy. It's all good. On the front of it is going to be a big fan. This fan isn't going to actually blow air, however. It's going to take in the air that is coming at it and push some of it out the backside of it, just to be more efficient, accelerate it a little bit further. But most of this air is actually going to go down underneath it into what they call the air bearings of it. Now these air bearings, in addition to the magnets underneath it, are going to replace the wheels on this. Now this is an interesting point because theoretically, as far as I know, this could become one of the first, if not the first, land transportation device that does not use wheels. Interesting. And if not that, certainly the first land transportation device that doesn't use wheels and goes 760 miles per hour. So I want to expand on something. Elon Musk said this is going to be the fifth mode of transportation. What he means by this is we currently have 4 modes of transportation that we agree on. We have land transport, we drive our cars, beep beep, those kinds of things. We sail our boats, things like that. We fly our planes, we have spaceships, we go up as high as we possibly can. The Hyperloop is not going to go underground or into another dimension or anything crazy awesome like that. But what it will do is it will enable us to go faster than an airplane right here on the ground. Theoretically, you could be driving on the freeway at 70 miles per hour and see something shoot past you on your right side going 760 miles per hour. Insane. Pretty incredible. Not everyone's down for the cause. That's the reality of it. There are some good arguments. There are some that could be argued in themselves. One of the ones that I've heard that I think can be argued in a way is people say traveling at 760 miles per hour is not safe. Now that can't be argued in itself. It is not. However, I'm willing to bet that almost all of us here have gone on an airplane at some point. Am I right? Yeah, nod your head if you've gone on an airplane at any point in your life, right? That's going roughly 550 to 650 miles per hour, 40,000 feet in the sky. This will be on land. It'll have exit doors on it so you can get off, and the tube around it will also have emergency exits. So in some ways it's a little bit safer than an airplane. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, an argument that is pretty good, actually, is the fact that because it's traveling on land, it is going to have to maneuver around things at times. If there is a mountain in the way, it is going to have to maybe make a sharp turn around it. When you are going 760 miles per hour, even a small turn is a big deal. And the problem is that passengers will likely be exposed to G-forces that only a fighter pilot or someone doing an extreme sport like that would really experience. I am not prepared to be a fighter pilot. I don't think most of us are here, and I'm probably not prepared to feel these types of G-forces, whereas most of us probably aren't accustomed to them either. So they need to figure that out. That's not going to work for us for right now. Another good argument is purely just economical. $6 billion. It's a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money to me. Some other people say, where are we going to put this? We have roads. We have cars. You want 700 miles of tracks up and down California? Show me where you're going to put that. Some people just ignore all the efficiency standards of it and go, do we need this? Do we need to go 760 miles per hour? Do we need to go any faster than we can go right now? It's a good question. I don't know. Basically, the Hyperloop is a really solid idea so far. There are some flaws to it, but maybe they're not even flaws. They might just be the unknown that we haven't figured out quite yet. However, it has some really good aspects to it. Number one, as we talked about, extremely energy efficient. This whole thing is built around energy efficiency. It has an electric motor, which is going to get it going. It saves 90 to 95% less energy. And one thing I even forgot to mention is that it's completely built out of carbon fiber and will weigh 1/3 the total weight of every passenger on it, plus all of their luggage. Extremely energy efficient. Extremely economically efficient. $20 a ticket is a great incentive for someone to hop on this thing and get from San Francisco to Los Angeles in 45 minutes rather than drive all the way there. It hits the 3 main points that people need to make a transition, especially toward efficiency. It is cheap, it's very useful, and it is easy to use. Number 3, once we implement this technology, we can start spreading it to a whole bunch of other things. No wheels. This is a really interesting concept. We haven't really messed with this before. This is great. Really good starting point. As we all know, technology, whether or not we want it to, generally tends to go in the direction of being implemented. So the Hyperloop is probably going to become a reality whether or not we want it to. What I encourage you to do is if you are interested or if you have concerns with it, do some research on it. It's really interesting stuff. This is an example of the Hyperloop 1, which is one of the companies that is crushing it right now. It's the one that just tested theirs out. And if you have concerns, voice them. Right now, people are still creating these. They are listening to what we want. So my friends, thank you for giving me your time. I know you didn't have a choice, but you've been a great audience. My name is Jack. This is the Hyperloop. Thank you.
You might be in the wrong business. I don't know, selling cars. No, yeah, you're gonna do it for damn. I thought you were giving it to him.
Self-help.
Shit, dude, I gotta get out of school first. It's like the only class I'm giving at.
All right, once again, I did not know what my subject was. It's microbial farming, and I thought it was about, growing microbes, which is not true. So let me just log in. Here we go. This isn't cutting into my time. So my name is Laura. I'm going to talk to you about microbes and soil and just microbial farming. And wow, that is some really good looking soil right there, doesn't it? It's a culmination of minerals, rocks, organic matter, dead stuff, and that's what makes it so great. And that's what it looks like that, and all this great green stuff growing out of it. Now, soil, I can't stress this enough, even though it's, unattractive, it's literally dirty, is just so integral to our land life, our land living lives. It is integral for producers, plants that are base of the food chain, and yeah, we walk on it. And it is a crucial stage in so many different cycles, the carbon cycle, water cycle, and I'm going to be going into the nitrogen cycle. But what are the microbes in our soil? So we've got these fungi, nematodes, viruses, and bacteria, namely, as what I'm talking about when we're talking about the microbes in our soil. And it's crazy. This, like, as you mentioned in a previous lecture, microbes are the hidden part of our whole ecosystem that's just overlooked. But in fact, they are crucial everywhere. Even in our body, what was it, like for every human cell, there's 10 other cells that aren't human, so we're like mostly not human. It's great, but I digress. So for every gram of soil, you can have between 50,000 and 83,000 different species of bacteria and fungi. Now that's like a thimble of soil. Is this a thimble? I don't know. But that is one of our most diverse biomes. And you could just walk 3 feet from an oak tree to a patch of grass, and suddenly you're in a completely different ecosystem with all these other different species. And not just fungi and bacteria, we're talking, there's thousands of others, microbes as well, like the nematodes and the nematodes. So these guys are just essential for good soil. They break things down. The soil is where they break down the organic and inorganic matter and make it reusable, so it can be recycled and put to good use by our plants. So I'm going to go into just a brief, we're going to focus on nitrogen because that's one of the building blocks of life itself. It's in our DNA. So if you remember from Dana's portion, 70-something% of our atmosphere is just nitrogen. Is that right? Great.
78.
78? Okay, almost 80%. And that's unusable. It's inert. You don't see a plus or minus sign next to it. So it's not really usable for anybody. And but something that a lot of microbes, especially nitrogen-fixing bacteria, can do is take that, chew it up, process it, and this is very oversimplified, by the way, and turn it into nitrogen that is usable. Look, it's got the pluses and minuses. It's ionic. It's usable for life. So that's nitrites, nitrates, and ammonium. And that's what life needs. And then it can go back up. Yep, there you go. Before I go into that, we only have plants, we only know about the legumes that have these nitrogen-fixing bacteria with them, and that's soy, alfalfa, beans, things like that. But other than that, in order to fix nitrogen, it's very, very difficult, and it actually, either it means us harvesting it from, islands in a terrible way, like mining it from natural resources. That's that island with all the bird poop. I forgot what it's called. Guano. And so what we do for most of our crops, which is mostly not legumes, we use synthetic fertilizer. At the moment, we have to mostly what we do is we artificially convert it using mainly the Haber-Bosch process, which is actually uses a lot of energy. It was invented to create explosives, by the way, but also create artificial fertilizer. And it uses a lot of energy, and it creates greenhouse gases, and a lot of the nitrogen ends up in the sky as nitrous oxide, which is a greenhouse gas as well, 298 times more powerful than carbon dioxide over the course of a century. Also, the nitrogen gets into the groundwater and waterways, kind of leaches the oxygen, and produces a lot of algae growth, and also suffocates a lot of marine life because they don't have oxygen. So that sucks. And just in general, it's very approximate, but agriculture contributes to about 30% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. And so our solution could be, so should we reduce our agriculture? No, that's never going to happen, especially as our population continues to increase. So we have two choices. We can make our soil better the natural way using all these microbes that are mutualistically working with these plants and their roots and just the whole soil in general, the way it's always been. Or we could just use more herbicides and artificial fertilizers and pesticides, which actually degrades the soil by a lot. So, this is how we have happy soil. We have a lot of organic matter, including all these species of microbes, and that actually allows the soil to retain 3 to 10 times more water than degraded soil. That obviously means that it's drought, it'll survive drought better, and it's more resilient overall. It won't need pesticides or herbicides and synthetic fertilizers, which is really bad for the soil and just the environment, and possibly our health as well. Actually, yes, our health. If you combine it with other parts of drawdown, it talks about, silviculture and intercropping and things. Just overall, if you have a diverse crop, you have better yields, just better stuff, and you'll have better soil, because that's where it all begins and ends. Actually, it all begins with geology, but anyway, unfortunately, a lot of our researchers have, when it comes to researching microbes, especially bacteria, we kind of been using it to weaponize against, just fighting pests, fighting disease, which is great, but we don't really think about using it to work with all the plants that we need, and just ending up with just better crop yields and hence better plant life and better society, better everything. That's the end. Any questions? Okay.
So the idea is for us to enhance this somehow, and then there's more of a microbial action, or just let nature? It sounds really cool. It's like we're being mutualistic with the microbes to work together to make healthier soil that will take up the carbon.
Oh, I don't think we even have a choice, really. But yeah, that's ideal. We'd like to see that, sooner rather than later.
So it's basically just going back to plantation agriculture then. I mean, just traditional agriculture, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like rotating crops, but just going against, if we can't go back to having that, just rotating crops and stuff, instead of using pesticides and herbicides, researching more about how microbes can help the plant itself and help the soil. The thing is, a lot of that research hasn't been going towards that. It's been going more against the negatives, which is looking into what microbes can fight off these pests, which microbes kill off these caterpillars, that sort of thing. But they can just be doing the opposite.
Makes sense,
Yeah,
a
we think a lot.
militaristic mentality. Yeah, that's great, thank you.
Log out. Really? Okay.
All right. It's not in presentation notes yet. There's that. There
Right.
it is. Yeah, got it. All right. Good start. Okay. Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm the weird kid that sits in the back, and I'm going to talk to you guys about electric vehicles. Yeah. So, a little history lesson first. The history of electric vehicles. So, the first prototype of an electric vehicle was created in 1828, almost 200 years ago. And Thomas Edison, your boy, he was working hard to create a lightweight and durable battery for electric vehicles back in his heyday. And he and Henry Ford were in a partnership to create a mass manufactured electric vehicle, but it never came to pass because Thomas Edison was a hack. So it fell by the wayside, and the Ford Model T got super popular, and the rest is history. But back in the day, before the Model T, EVs were super popular, and because they had no motor, no big moving parts in an engine, no gas, there was no crank start. Those are quite dangerous actually. There's no gear shift, nothing like that. And as you can see here, these things were bought and sold on a regular basis. However, they were $2,000, which was not good, and the Model T was $300, so you can see why it got popular. And so eventually, by the 1920s, roadways in the U.S. were very well maintained and a lot more, expansive, and the extended range of a gasoline-powered car way out-advantaged the 14-mile-an-hour limited battery range of a electric wagon. So the present day. One big problem, glaring issue with this that Drawdown brought to attention was that this establishing only a 16% increase in passenger miles with electric cars, while it would reduce 10.8 gigatons of CO2 of emissions, it would cost $14 trillion and only save $9 trillion. So it's a negative cost in that way. But however, there are a lot of pros to this. Fuel is much cheaper, and if renewable resources are used to get the energy for an electric car, it's even cheaper, and it's clean. It doesn't. So if you have solar on your house or something like that, you have absolutely no footprint if you're using that to charge your car. However, the con is that there are not that many EV models available. When I did an internet search, it came up with 43 total. And that's compared to the thousands of gasoline-powered cars, and most of the really good quality electric cars, like the Tesla, are really damn expensive. So people are stuck with your Fiats that only go 80 miles. So as I was saying, affordable models are limited by lower quality batteries and can go 100 miles or less on average, and the expensive ones can go 300 miles maximum. That's the best Tesla package you can get. However, another thing to keep in mind that I was not aware of is a lot of heavy-duty vehicles, a lot of trains, trucks, for shipping companies and stuff, industrial equipment already is, they're already mostly electric. Every forklift you see, probably electric. They, many companies like that, many companies that use industrial equipment and things like that, they see the advantage and the savings possible for upgrading to an electric car like that, or an electric vehicle. And so, the reason why I believe this is such an important issue is because transport accounts for 23% of all emissions, and if everyone had an electric car that produced no emissions, that would be a lot of reduction in that category. So for the future, Drawdown suggests that a vast array of charging stations would be the most complete solution for this. Stations are not that cheap. It's $3,000 to $7,000 for a charging port. So you know, a large mall or something like that, that's nothing. Personally, I believe that it is not the availability of charging that limits people in the EV category. It's the range that an EV car actually has. As I said before, 100 to 300 miles is kind of the standard now. However, a lot of companies, like as you see here, are investing in EV technology. Volvo has committed itself by, I think it's 2020, they'll stop producing gas cars altogether. They'll be moving to only hybrid and electric cars. Mercedes is trying to get on the action. Audi already has prototypes, even Aston Martin. So who knows, James Bond could be driving an electric car in a few years. And yeah, so with all these companies investing in it, there is more than likely going to be a breakthrough in battery technology, hopefully. Yeah, and to me, the bottom line is that until the battery of a car can surpass the human limit of driving, or charge so fast that it is comparable to refilling a gas tank, EVs just won't take over. Until you can drive your EV so far that you will fall asleep before the car dies, that is when the paradigm shift will occur. And sales are already projected to grow by 60% and a total of 400 million new electric cars by 2040. And yeah, that concludes my presentation.
There you go. One thing I'd like to add to that I think is important is that a lot of this is